I rise up, sunrise shining, new day dawning, giving hope and inspiration. Up, 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 way up. Give thanks for blessings, great and small. Give thanks for loved ones near and far. Give thanks for health, strength, and prosperity. Up, 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 way up.
Greetings, kings and queens. Welcome to another Real Stuff podcast. Today is Monday, and when it's Monday, we have the really current news in Jamaica, the Caribbean, and around the world. And this morning, we're going to take our news to UN, the United Nations. The Prime Minister of Barbados, Mottley, we're going to play her speech that she made at the 76th United Nations Assembly. I'm going to be waiting here for my podcasting crew to join me in a few minutes. So in the meantime, if you got to go get your drink, whether it's your tea, your coffee, whatever beverage, go get it. The music you hear in the background is none other than the man himself, Oko Onora. So sit and stay, don't go nowhere. I will be right back. More from Oko.
I rise up, sunrise shining, new day dawning, giving hope and inspiration. Up.
Top of the morning, gentlemen. Top of the morning, Errol.
Top of the morning. Bless up the morning, Sir Franco. Top of the morning.
How you doing? You sound like you're on the road. Top of the morning, Courtney.
Yeah, top of the morning. Top of the morning.
Yeah. So thanks for joining this morning. This morning we want to take our reasoning points from the speech that was made by the Prime Minister of Barbados.
Yes.
Yes. So I want to go straight to it, and then after we can discuss it, because she said some things in it that it's a wake up call for the world as we are facing suffering right now, and humanity right now is suffering. Mother Earth is suffering. So without any further ado, I'm just going to play the speech, and then after it finishes, we can, discuss it, find points in it where we can, do our discussions and things like that. So here goes.
The Assembly will hear an address by Her Excellency Mia Amor Mottley, Prime Minister, Minister for National Security and the Civil Service, and Minister for Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment of Barbados. May I request protocol to escort Her Excellency. I have great pleasure in welcoming Her Excellency Mia Amor Mottley, Prime Minister, Minister for National Security and the Civil Service, and Minister for Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment of Barbados, and I invite her to address the General Assembly. Madam Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. Please permit me at the outset to congratulate the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, and the Deputy Secretary General, Mina Mohammed, on their reappointment as to the post here, and also to the election of the President for this 76th General Assembly. If I use the speech prepared for me to deliver today, it would be a repetition of what you have heard from others and also from me. Equally, how many more times will we then have a situation where we say the same thing over and over and over to come to naught? My friends, we cannot do that anymore. And I ask simply that we recall 3 years ago when I made my maiden speech, I indicated from this very podium and told the international community that the world appeared awfully similar to what it looked like 100 years ago. Barbados made that position clear. Regrettably, we have not come to say we told you so, but we have come to say that the needle has not moved and that we have not seen sufficient action on behalf of the people of this world. I am not here, therefore, to keep you long today and shall be very, very brief. How many more variants of COVID-19 must arrive? How many more before a worldwide action plan for vaccinations will be implemented? How many more deaths must it take before 1.7 billion excess vaccines in the possession of the advanced countries of the world will be shared with those who have simply no access to vaccines? How much more fake news will we allow to be spread without states defending the public digital space? We've come together with alacrity to defend the right of states to tax across the digital space, but we are not prepared to come together with the same alacrity to defend the rights of our citizens to be duped by fake news in the same digital space. And how many more surges must there be before we ask, when will the world take action? None are safe until all are safe. How many more times will we hear that? And how much more must we do, Madam Vice President, before the global moral strategic leadership that our world needs comes? How much more global temperature rise must there be before we end the burning of fossil fuels? And how much more must sea levels climb in small island developing states before those who profited from the stockpiling of greenhouse gases contribute to the loss and damage that they occasioned, rather than asking us to crowd out the fiscal space that we have for development to cure the damage caused by the greed of others? And how many more hurricanes must destroy, locusts devour, and islands submerge before we recognize that $100 billion in adaptation is simply not even enough? The answer, Madam Vice President, is that we are waiting for urgent global, moral, strategic leadership. How many more crises must hit before we see an international system that stops dividing us and starts to lift us up? How many more times must people come to this podium and speak about the plight of the people of Cuba and Haiti and see very little being done to lift the floor of social development to give those people the right to pursue legitimate ambitions. How many more crises and natural disasters before we see that old conventions of aid mean that assistance does not reach those who need it most and those who are most vulnerable? And how much wealthier must tech firms get? The top 5 tech firms have a market capitalization of $9.3 trillion. I didn't say billion, $1 trillion. How much more wealthier must they get before we worry about the fact that so few of us have access to data and knowledge, and that our children are being deprived of the tools that they need in order to be able to participate in online education? The answer, Madam Vice President, is that we have the means to give every child on this planet a tablet. And we have the means to give every adult a vaccine. And we have the means to invest in protecting the most vulnerable on our planet from a changing climate. But we choose not to. It is not because we do not have enough. It is because we do not have the will to distribute that which we have. And it is also because, regrettably, the faceless few do not fear the consequences sufficiently. How many more leaders must come to this podium and not be heard before they stop coming? How many times must we address an empty hall of officials in an institution that was intended to be made for leaders to discuss with leaders the advancement necessary to prevent another great war or any of the other great challenges of our humanity? How many more times will we stand idly by and see women of color and men of color and women, period, be attacked at the leadership of international organizations disproportionately? And yes, how many more times must the great needs be met simply by nice words and not have before us the opportunity to see the goodwill that is necessary to prevent nationalism and militarism? The answer, Madam President, is that this age dangerously resembles that of a century ago. The time when we were on the eve of the Great Depression, and a time when we fought a similar pandemic, and a time when fascism and populism and nationalism led to the decimation of populations through actions that are too horrendous for us to even contemplate. Our world knows not what it is gambling with. And if we don't control this fire, it will burn us all down. As I said 2 years ago, this is not science fiction. We heard the Secretary General make the same comment on Tuesday morning. This is our reality. It is not science fiction. And if the truth be told, the Secretary General's speech said it all. But who will stand in here and support him to give him the mandate, and our institutions, be it the WHO, the IMF, or the World Bank, or the regional development banks, or the development institutions, who will give them the mandate to go forward if we continue to refuse to summon the political will to confront what we know we must confront? I ask us, who in here will sign the new charter, a new charter for the 21st century that is appropriate for not the next 75, because the world in which we live moves too quickly, But let us try for the next 25 years to meet the needs of a 21st century, not the needs of the middle of the 20th century and the aftermath of a world war that none of us can really relate to today. In the words of Robert Nesta Marley, who will get up and stand up? Who will get up and stand up for the rights of our people? Who will stand up in the name of all those who have died during this awful pandemic? The millions. Who will stand up in the name of all those who have died because of the climate crisis? Or who will stand up for the small island developing states who need 1.5 degrees to survive as we go to COP26? Who will stand up? Not with a little token, but with real progress. And who will stand up for all in our countries who remain and suffer the indignity of unemployment and underemployment, and whose access to food is now compromised by increased food prices and increased transportation prices, and transportation, quite frankly, that is being manipulated. It is not beyond us to solve this problem. If we can find the will to send people to the moon and solve male baldness, as I've said over and over, we can solve simple problems like letting our people eat at affordable prices and making sure that we have the transport. We have been told that democracy is what matters in our country, and democracy is fundamentally an issue of the majority and numbers. But why don't we count who stands up in here? And why don't we take a reckoning for the numbers in here? My friends, it is against that background that I say to you, this is not 1945 with 50 countries. This is 2021 with many countries that did not exist in 1945, who must face their people and answer the needs of their people, who want to know what is the relevance of an international community that only comes and does not listen to each other, that only talks and will not talk with each other. It is against this background that I say that our voices must be heard and our voices must matter. And today, Barbados calls at this dangerous fork in the road that the nation states of this assembly and the people of this world must indicate what direction we want our world to go in, and not leave it to the faceless few who have worked so hard to prevent the prosperity from being shared that is sufficient in this world, from being shared with all of our people. I ask you today to support us, because we will bring a resolution in plenary to endorse the approach of Antonio Guterres as Secretary General. When I met with him 2 days ago, I told him we share the same philosophy. We want the same destination. The only issue is what road we take, and what are the obstacles in that road, and what are the potholes we must overcome. My friends, I fear we leave hunger in need of another hunger. One with real engagement, and one to secure real progress. That is what he called for on Tuesday. I regret that the token initiatives will not close the gap. On Monday morning, I said to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom that I was a student in his country, and that as we got off the train, there would be a pre-recorded message each time that simply said, "Mind the gap." Let us, my friends, not only mind the gap, but determine as a global community of nations that numbers matter, and that we have the population and the member states to send the signal of the direction that we want our world to go in at this dangerous moment. And let us do so with the calm assurance that those who labor in great causes never ultimately fail, but we must summon the courage to do it. I ask us in the name of our people to find the global moral strategic leadership. Global because our problems are global. Moral because we must do the right thing. And strategic because we cannot solve every problem of the world, but we must solve those within our purview immediately. Thank you.
On behalf of General Assembly, I wish to thank Her Excellency Mia Amor Mottley, the Prime Minister, Minister for National Security and the Civil Service, and Minister for Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment of Barbados for her statement, and I request protocol to escort Her Excellency.
Okay, there you go. That was the speech at the 76th General Assembly of the United Nations.
Yes.
From the Prime Minister. So let me bring you all in on board and hear what you guys have to say about what took place, what you gather from the speech and what we as a Caribbean, Caribbean people, can do to ease some of the suffering that we're all facing. And, people talking about the vaccine and vaccine and vaccine and vaccine, but yet still no one is remembering the suffering. So I'm just going to open up the floor to all of you. So I'm going to call on you individually. So I'm going to say, Courtney, let me give you the floor. Lead off.
Okay. Yes. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers. Good morning to the team again. Surely, that was a amazing, powerful speech. And I look at the speech that this way, that she compared it to what was happening a century ago. And it's like she mentioned about what took place in World War II, going back to 1945. And we see, and she mentioned several things, and I'll go through some of them. She talked about the variant of COVID and the effects on people, especially the poorer nations. And surely, we know that the more prosperous nations, they have a whole lot of vaccines in reserve, more than that they can use. And we see that in the poorer nations, people are suffering. And because of the economic crisis in these nations. So we look to that this economic situation also created a whole lot of social problems. And she, allude to that fact also. So, thinking about resolutions, let us just address the vaccinations first, because people, I'm not against anti-vaxxers, let me make that clear. And I'm not really, gonna just say, well, they are taking a wrong position. But let's look at the facts. The fact is that the vaccination can help, people from really, getting the severe, what would say now, the severe, it's like I'm getting stuck, but, the severe effects of this disease.
Yeah. Because they said it helped in terms of those who, when in the first stages, when it first started, a lot of people used to be under ventilators and things like that.
Right.
And this now kind of help you from going into that stage. So
yeah. So you see, and let's examine other facts. Yeah, both vaccinated people and unvaccinated people can catch this disease or, and have problems with this disease. But the people who are vaccinated have a greater chance of survival, when these severe attacks comes. So, this is about making choices.
True. Absolutely.
There's the other aspect of people who are into herbal infusions and, stuff, because one of the things that we have to know about this COVID-19 is that it attacks the immune system. And if a person's immune system is not properly boosted, then, they will fall a victim to this. So, that's another thing. But the thing that, I really, that got to me from that speech most is the deprivation of technology to the poorer nations, especially the children, the technology, for the children in these poorer nations. Because look, right now we're having a crisis that we have to have online teaching and online education. And we realize that the children who are supposed to be in school, they are deprived of the tools. Many of them don't have a tablet. Many of them don't have maybe a phone because the parents have to take the phone with them for other emergencies. They don't have a laptop. Well, you can't go to laptop.
You're referring to especially...
If you can't own a tablet, you can't own a laptop either.
You're referring to most of the children in the Caribbean, right?
Caribbean, yeah. That's why I said poorer nations, because she said the deprivation of technology from the people in the poorer nations. And, and poorer nations will include the Caribbean. And like specifically, talk about Jamaica, because, most of us are Jamaicans listening. And what can be done? I think part of the resolution is that, and it has been, people in the diaspora have been doing that, sending, tablets, as much tablets as them can. I have been part of that, supporting that too. So, but it won't be enough.
No, it don't, because there's still need. There's still,
so I look now and said, there are many corporations and businesses in Jamaica that can do more. And I'll just leave it as that, because I've said a handful, so just like to hear from,
All right, thank you very much.
Members.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And let me go on to the Thinking Bean, Errol Bean.
Yes. Bless up the morning, everyone, listeners, and
bless up.
your podcast host team. Well, I'd like to begin by focusing on the end, the last set of words that she spoke. Of course, to agree with Courtney, it was a fantastic speech, highly motivational, passionate, and everybody agrees that this was a very good speech in terms of standing up and reaching out to the world to take a stand. Now, the last thing I heard her say was that we cannot solve all the problems of the world, but in other words, we should try to see what we can do. We cannot solve all the problems of the world. If we take that as our mantra, then we'll do nothing. But it has to be part of the reality. Because you see, when you speak of the world order, the basic issue with humanity is selfishness and individualism. Selfishness and individualism. Selfishness is the problem that causes issues between individuals in private, in group relationships, and it is the pattern of the world. So then, how are we going to get world leaders to put aside their own developmental issues and get out of the zone of selfishness and try to reach out to see what can be done for other nations? That to me is a problem. Now, she's talking about world order, and the powerful nations of the world are well stocked up with their nuclear weapons. And as I said in one of my songs, the little boys are working hard to get them. These are big issues that go even beyond vaccine. And as Courtney has said, part of the plot or part of the issue with the
Seem like we're losing it here, Errol. When you get back, I think we lost Errol right there, so we're gonna move on now to Flavius. Unmute your mic for me, please. Errol, we're losing you. We're losing you there, Errol. So as soon as we can get some clarity from you again.
choices.
Hello?
People have free will.
Okay, there you go. We were losing you, Errol. I think I'm gone, so. Flavius, unmute your mic there.
Yeah, I am on mute now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the main thing that this speech really tells us is how
I got disconnected. Hello?
Yes, Flavius, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Flavius.
everyone is trying to come back in.
I don't know what's happening, so you may have to move on to someone if I am issue with my phone.
All
Yeah.
right, Flavius, yeah.
However, I was making
All right, Flavius, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. What I get from the essence of the speech is that what we need is what we have not had for so many years is unity. Not even in the Caribbean we have unity. If we have any form of semblance of unity in the Caribbean, we will go far away. But we are, everybody is trying to be by themselves, do things on their own, not knowing or, not realizing or acknowledging that togetherness is what we need. And this whole speech is about that. Not only the Caribbean, but the whole world. If we don't come together and do action, everybody knows what is to be done. Everybody knows what is to be done because, like she said, giving every child a tablet.
We're having issues there with Flavius as well. The Jamaica.
It's not having given every child a tablet and giving everybody a vaccine is not a serious stress financially. But what we don't have is the will. The will. That's why she said the whole thing of coming and talking the same thing over and over again don't make any sense. We know exactly what to do, so we have to just go out there and do it. But I think the main point is the whole point of unity. We lack that, in a serious way. Everybody not moving in the same direction. And another main point she said, when the needle, years after year, you go to this big conference and the needle of progress has not moved. We just stop at the same point. We talk about the same things, but when the action time comes, nothing is done. So after a while, it will become that these meetings, it don't make any sense to have these meetings anymore. If you're not getting any value from it, any improvement from it, it's a waste of time. It's a holiday for all these leaders to be going there and sitting down in these fancy conference rooms. And when you leave, that's it. Everything said, let's think about it for next year. So that is the main thing.
All right. So three different views, which is good, which is good. It's good. It's good. One of the things that struck me in the speech, and that's you just mentioned it too, but I want to touch on the speech that in the speech she was quoting from a Bob Marley song. Who's gonna get up, stand up, and stand up for your right. And it's amazing to see when all of these world leaders meet on this stage, right? And especially during this time, the pandemic time, I don't hear much of them talking about the what you call it, the Caribbean nation. I don't hear them mention anything about the Caribbean. Everything is mainly focused on Europe and North America as if they are the world, right? The other day when they had the African Caribbean Summit or the Caribbean African Summit, I think that was a good move in order to get a unification. Just like you mentioned that, she's talking about, unity. We need to unite as one in order to solve the crisis that is happening right now. As a people, and when I say as a people, I'm referring to the Caribbean people. The unity, yes, we have to come together as one. But we need more Caribbean voices, more Caribbean leaders to step up and to be in unison, in one, when them go to these conferences or they sit down and meet with the other G Summit, and make sure so that, them on the same page. She's out there by herself now making this speech. But when the other Caribbean leaders, them meet or come together on another platform like this, will the message differ from what she just make? So I'm just hoping that, we as a people, Caribbean people, can have that unison. The CARICOM need to be united as one. So it's one message, one aim, one destiny. I'm gonna play this song and then we're gonna come back and do something else. We're going to touch on some other things in the news. But I'm going to play Wayne Marshall, It's All Right. This song was given to us, or it was released on our third podcast last year.
Wayne
Armand, yes, sorry, Wayne Armand. And at the time, the whole world was locked down. And it's a message in the song. It's all right. Stand firm for another day because everything is going to be all right. So let's play Wayne Harmon and then we come back in.
It's all right. Tomorrow is another day. It's alright. It's okay. Just stand firm in the face of adversity and watch them fade away. Life have a way to carry you down when the money in the bank gets shorter. And the bills are coming and you're caught in between the devil and the deep blue water. I know say that when you come home my yard and the people them I look them sober. So you do what you can cause a man is just a man and you not make the people them sober. And you pray to the Father when this tribulation I go in. But remember Jonah in the belly of the whale and Daniel in the lion's den. It's alright. It's okay. Just hang on a little bit longer cause tomorrow is another day. It's alright. It's okay. Just stand firm in the face of adversity and watch them fade away. I say time of a way to test your faith, so you got to have an open endurance. One day at a time, just keep on trying, cause time carry no insurance. No matter how the situation hard, things can only get better. Just have some faith, everything will go great, cause nothing ever lasts forever. And you pray to the Father when this tribulation I go end, but remember Jonah in the belly of the whale and Daniel in the lion's den. It's alright, it's okay. Just hang on a little bit longer, cause tomorrow is another day. It's alright, it's okay. Just stand firm in the face of adversity and watch them fade away, away, away.
Yes, yes, indeed. It's all right. It's okay. I have with me Flavius, Courtney, Errol Bean, the Thinking Bean, and myself. And in case you're just joining us, welcome to the Real Stuff Podcast, your Caribbean podcast. And we are live and direct. So, let's go into stage 2 of this morning discussion on the really current news in Jamaica, the Caribbean, and around the world. And so, gentlemen, men at work again. So, unmute your mics. Unmute your mics. I know that you're all aware, since let's touch on the vaccine. You're all aware that the world has been changing. It's changing, actually. And traveling also is another factor. A lot of people, millions of people travel air time. And one of the things that I know, Canada was the first country that I know of that in effect. And now the United States and the rest of the world is going to be following. That if you're traveling to their country, you have to be fully vaccinated. What are your views on that? I'm going to go with Flavius first.
Well, you have two ways to look at it, The country who is receiving the person will tell you they are protecting their population.
Mm-hmm.
But that itself brings a lot of problems. Problems because the poorer countries a very small percentage of their population have been vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not having nothing to do with, what you call it now, vaccine hesitancy or anything like that. It has to do with they physically cannot afford the vaccine. So the amount of vaccine they get over a period of time is very, very small compared to the population.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm hearing that Jamaica, I don't think Jamaica gone 10% yet, or probably a little over 10% of the population that has been vaccinated. That means that very few Jamaicans will be allowed to travel. And you have a lot of people who are not taking the vaccine. But you have a lot of people who want to take the vaccine and want to travel, but the vaccine is just not available. On the other hand, again, there's also discrepancy between the different vaccine brands. And some people are refusing to take some brands because of the information that is out on them. So that brings the whole vaccine count further down. So I don't think seriously that thing should be in place before vaccine is available worldwide in a great way.
All right.
So vaccine should be available, like in the Caribbean, like every country should have adequate amount of vaccines and all that. But it's their country, so they can make the rules.
Well, Jamaica, come November 1st, Jamaica going be on that same path as well. If you're
Yeah,
traveling to Jamaica, you too have to be fully vaccinated before you can enter the country.
but that is little too late.
So,
Jamaica should have locked down their
all
borders
right.
long ago.
So that's why that's why I mentioned said all the Caribbean leaders have to be on the same page, because some countries are getting vaccine at a rapid pace in the Caribbean, while some is not. Right? Even though the president of the United States said that America is going to have 500 million vaccine available to distribute to the world, to the poorer countries, then put it that way. So I don't know if Jamaica is going to be in that batch, because recently they gave some Caribbean countries some of them Pfizer that they have. Jamaica wasn't one of them included. So let me bring in Courtney.
Yes, while I will agree that, a country or a nation have the right to, bar whoever they want out of their country and all of that. And, I do agree with Flavius, that because there's not an equitable distribution of vaccinations around the world, it is saying that only the affluent people will be able to travel who takes the vaccine. Because, think about it, that the people who don't have the means and, say that, with addition factors that they are anti-vaxxers, they won't be able to travel. So, I see that it's also a means, for those like North American countries to keep out people who don't have the means to really travel or spend their money elsewhere. So what we see will happening, the poor people are the poorest people in the Caribbean nations will be, stay in their position as they are, because, traveling gives people an opportunity to expand their horizon, maybe a greater opportunity of getting prosperous. And so this is a way of denying them from really, getting to that point.
It's another immigration control.
Control, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Put control
that's where I'm really going with the point too, because we see well for keep out these kind of people, they won't come and be prosperous, and so we'll keep because all what is happening, and the Prime Minister mentioned that in her speech, is about greed. Greed and avarice. People, the people who are affluent, they are greedy and want more. And the more they have is the, so they, I think she's maybe an idealist, or, somebody who is thinking that, well, this is the ideal situation for us, that what you have an equitable distribution of wealth or distribution of goods and services in the world, which will not happen. Because these people are not going to give up their position to really help people to get on the feet. So what this is saying to me, I'm just taking it personal now, that if I decide that I don't want to be vaccinated, I will always stay in the place where I'm at.
No movements.
No movement. And then what will happen in all of these countries? Mm-hmm. They're gonna say to, like, the government of Jamaica may one day say, well, you can't come in a government building without being vaccinated. You can't deal with no certain kind of business without, then maybe people with a lot of supermarkets and places can start asking for vaccinated ID, then it what they're gonna maybe create in the world now, that is this have to be a mandatory thing.
It's coming, Courtney. It's coming because you have places like, as we speak right now, places in New York that you cannot go in there and sit down and eat a meal unless you show your card. You understand me?
Yeah. But Franco, there's another point to this whole thing, I am looking at this thing as a massive mind conditioning and brainwashing scheme, Because if you say you can't come into my country or you can't go into this restaurant unless you are vaccinated, on one hand, and on the other hand, they are telling you that even if you are vaccinated, you still can spread the virus. So, how that work out? I think it's a massive condition and mind condition and brainwashing system that they are trying to tell you that vaccine is the way to go. Is the way to go. It's not protecting you, but we need for you to take the vaccine. I think we need to look at it from that standpoint, because if it's not preventing you from getting it, and it's not preventing you from spreading it, why would you ban me if I'm not vaccinated? When if I am vaccinated, I can do the same things. I need somebody to explain that to me.
You have to call somebody from who deal with deal with all of that.
Yeah, from the World Health Organization or
brainwashing thing. It don't make any sense. It's either it can do the job or it can't do the job. We know say it can do the job.
Well, it's not going to stop you from getting infected. But
I'm not stopping from passing it on.
No.
So,
but from what it is doing, it's stopping you from being hospitalized in the sense that you won't be fighting it won't be fighting your respiratory organs and things like that. You understand me?
So how not allowing people in your country if they are not vaccinated?
That's what I'm saying. You have to find some people in that authority who can tell us the reason why them going that route. And as I remember, I think it was late last year, Dan came on the program and Dan said something that's everything that is happening now, and it wasn't even when the virus was even spreading either. When the world under the world crisis, it was sometime in February last year. He said it. Everything is about immigration, and England make that first move when they move away from the Union, right? Because if you're in the European Union, people can travel from country to country and they can work. England don't want that. So what they do? They move out of the Union, and they said this. You remember the gentleman who came on our show from Derbyshire was telling you about some fishing business and it affect fishery and all of that crap. And Dan was listening, and Dan said, all of that is bullshit. Seeing it's all about immigration. It's the same thing with the vaccine, boss. It's all about immigration. Watch and
but look at it now, Franco. At the football games in England, people are not.
You see them, right? You see the crowd.
Or they don't have to carry any vaccine passport or anything. And there are 70,000 people.
Exactly. Only people that I see wearing masks are the officials. Or those who work in the stadiums. So it's all about, if you notice it, England basically come back, boss. Right?
No, Franco, I think one of the ideas, or what they are working at is maybe possibly trying to get
immune,
a global,
herd immunity. Okay.
Yeah, because because checking in the UK, I don't think them reach 60% vaccinated people.
No, not even.
And they claim that herd immunity, you have to be at least for 75%.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that they're striving for. That's why they're bringing in all of this mandatory thing, because at the UN, the opening speech by the President of the United States, you know what he said? By next year, this time, they would like to have at least 70% of the population, the world population, to be vaccinated. 70%.
No, but the on the news this morning, the head of the Pfizer company says he expects by next year this time, COVID will be gone.
So the man might try to show you, man. So if they might go look for 70% of the world population to be vaccinated, them know say the other 30% are those who don't want to take it, are those who don't even believe in it, or are running from it. Something.
Who will not take it, yeah?
See? But anyway, we're gonna leave it right there. So we couldn't get back Errol because he's out on the road. So
Okay.
we're going to go and wrap up. Courtney, give me the summary now before we get out of here.
Yeah, well, quickly, we first listened to the speech of Barbados Prime Minister Mottley, and she made some very valid points, and speak on a global moral strategic leadership, and we see that that is the way to go. Although we know that practically, that the richer nations of the world, they are not gonna be accepting this because, it's gonna diminish their power base or the power and authority that they have in the world. So, the vulnerable nations will always be underdeveloped somehow. So we see that, maybe, some people may say that she's alluding to her political philosophy, about really equitable distribution of wealth, around the world or in the nation, or helping the nations that are really underdeveloped and need this kind of social and political development. So, she's even talk about the reality of these, the viruses and these problems in the world, these social economic problems, and she look and talk about the suffering too, of the nation, the poorer nations. She look at the way that the people, because she was also appealing to the people in these underdeveloped nations to stand up, especially the leaders of these nations, because as you rightly said too in one of your comments, that if the CARICOM leaders come together and African leaders come together and make a stance and come with one commitment or one in oneness, in unity about whatever subject matter that they want to discuss. Because if you check out in the United Nations, if all the CARICOM nations and the African nations come together and and vote for the people that is in their circle, surely they can hold a powerful position, but that position not gonna mean anything without some kind of bucketive, especially financial bucketive, because we see what is happening in the world, that, and she mentioned it in her point, because these richer nations hold up the wealth of the country, the globe, the whole global community, so to speak. That's why nothing much is happening. We spoke about, the whole mandatory vaccinations too, and we see that this is something coming. And, I guess we just have to embrace it. I know that there'll be resistance, but, it's not gonna be that effective. So with that, that was basically summarizing what we all spoke about today.
All right, Courtney, thank you very much. And so please remember to subscribe, like, and share the video, because the object of this channel is to educate you and entertain you. The Real Stuff Podcast is your Caribbean podcast. Live and love every moment of your life. Be grateful for each new day. Cherish your family and friends. Bless others. Keep the faith. Never lose hope. And remember, prayer changes things. Regardless of what religion you belong to, you must pray and continue to pray. So on behalf of my podcasting team, Francine, Maxwanette, Flavius, Courtney, and myself, have a joyful morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on your time zone. I'm going to ask Queen Lubafu to say the Our Father in the Garifuna language, and Tafina will take with myself to take us out of here. So take care of yourself and have a blessed day.
You lead us to full. You belong far away away. Ajuguala leva buseru. Lida mua, lida sungfula. Lida mua, lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless. Unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.